All right, welcome into the Five Guys here on the Five Reasons YouTube channel, usually at 3:05, or these days at 3:05. Come in a little bit later today, but we appreciate you joining. Also, before we get to this episode, I want to mention all the other Dolphins content that is going to be here on the channel. So, first thing, Pulse of Fins Nation tonight, 7:30. Louis D. Sung is hosting that one. I'm not sure who his guest is, but he always has someone good. So make sure you check that out tonight at 7:30. Tomorrow, Wednesday night, the premiere of the Inside Leverage Dolphins show. You know those guys from Playback. They're going to start doing a weekly Wednesday 7:30 show. So every Tuesday, 7:30, Lewis with Pulse of Fins Nation. Every Wednesday, Inside Leverage. Of course, Alex and I. You can follow Alex at Alex Donno. You can follow me, Ethan J. Skolnick, at 5 Reasons Sports. We'll be doing a lot of Dolphins camp, particularly of Dolphins content, particularly over the next couple of months until the Heat get rolling again, although we'll pop in when things are relevant to them as well. Also, make sure you check out, there's an episode of the Defo show that's on here on our channel as well. They got into Tua. So we're going to try to spin this a little bit a different way. But before we do, I want to mention a great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Our friends are at Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. That's Better Edge. You can go to that one too. Better Edge. Use the code 5RSN. Oh, Alex he's rolling it. Well, you know what? I'm going to mention both of them. Better Edge, 5RSN, $20 to play. No VIG. Find the line that you want. That's what makes it different from that other place that you know about in South Florida or in Florida that you can bet at legally. That's Better Edge. But Prize Picks, and I'll just mention, Alex, I don't think we put it up here in the background because we haven't done them in a while. There we go.
Oh, we got it.
PrizePicks.com. Got it. Use the code 5. In our second rep, we got it right. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. But I always say use the code 5 and you get your initial deposit matched up to $100. No, actually, they got a better deal now. If you sign up with the code 5 and you just place one $5 play, that's all you got to do. One $5 play, they give you $50. So it's actually a 10-to-1 match. You just deposit $5. They're going to give you $50 additional to play. It's legal in the state of Florida. So you haven't signed up yet, do this. This is honestly the best promotion I've seen them offer, and you can get it with the code 5, F-I-V-E. You're looking for something to play. We got a lot of, basketball fans on there. They've got the not just Team USA, but I mean, I played Dennis Schroeder today. I played Jokic the other day. They have all of the props up there for the Olympic basketball tournament. So play that while it's going on. You may want to play Jason Tatum's minutes under if you get the opportunity to do that. But we're going to talk Dolphins here again. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E, at prizepicks.com. Alex, training camp is one of those interesting things because there tends to be a build on certain players. Like we'll hear about guys early in camp, and I'm old, okay? I'm really old. So like I go back to certain training camps, and like I remember Randy McMichael was drafted. Okay. This was during, I guess, 2005. I think it was Saban. Oh, no, it's prior to Saban. Yeah, it was 2005, I think he was drafted. Yeah. Okay. And I just remember like hearing day after day after day, man, this guy brings tools to the tight end position that they haven't had before, and as a 4th-round pick. And I remember going all the way back to 1997 and Jason Taylor, and like before a 3rd-round pick. And Jimmy had a ton of draft picks, 96, 97. He was accumulating like 12, 13, 14 picks. Of course, Zach Thomas was a 5th-round pick in 96. And Jason was that was the year that Yateel Green blew out his knee in practice right in front of me. Actually, the 15th pick overall, coming out of Miami, had some injury issues coming in, and then got injured right away. And people were disappointed about that, obviously. Okay, and Sam Madison was a 2nd-round pick that year. He worked out pretty well. But the buzz was all about JT. Like he was killing guys without pads. Okay, and then the pads came on, and he was still killing guys. And I feel like we're starting to get that a little bit with their 1st-round pick this year, Chop Robinson.
Yeah.
That you're starting to hear that kind of buzz that, okay, who's popping in practice? That guy. Will it continue when the pads are on? Let's see. And so I'm cautious on certain guys in training camp because some of it is fool's gold. I remember Robert Baker tearing up many training camps for the Miami Dolphins, and he ended up with one catch as an NFL player. And I remember him being in front of Oronde Gadsden's locker, talking about how many catches he's going to have after that, how he'd end up in the Hall of Fame. He never had another catch. we do tend to see flashes in the pan. I remember Brian Manning was this receiver out of Stanford who went nuts. He had like 12 catches in Mexico City. I was down there, never became anything in the pros. But then there are other guys for whom it's real. Of the players you've heard about, we've had Alfredo for 3 yards per carry doing the practice reports, others that have been following it. What do you think is real from camp so far?
I would like to think and hope that the Chop Robinson stuff is real, because specifically at his position, the Dolphins have missed on a lot of big time first round draft picks over recent years. I think what's real right now, Ethan, is the fact that I think they've established a little bit more harmony, stability, and continuity by getting Tua Tagovailoa that contract extension, because
Mm-hmm.
it was becoming, I think, such a distraction that I think, to me, I'm more focused on the stability and the mental aspect of what that means, as opposed to what's happening physically out there before we've even played preseason games and joint practices, and obviously before they've actually played a meaningful game. Because yeah, I understand, like you, I've covered a lot of training camps over the years for the Dolphins. I've covered a lot of fall training camps for the Miami Hurricanes over the years. And I know what it means to kind of get sucked into that preseason, even preseason hype. And I still doesn't stop me from getting sucked into it sometimes. So in terms of what's real for this Miami Dolphins team, I think the defense overall is probably going to be a little bit even improved from last year. Hopefully they can find a little bit more harmony under Anthony Weaver than they apparently did with Vic Fangio last season. And obviously, once your injured pass rushers come back, Jalen Phillips and hopefully Bradley Chubb at some point, I think it's only going to add a punch there. But to me, we already know this offense, Ethan, should be really good, and they're going to score some points. And having your franchise quarterback now locked in, potentially for the next 5 years. I know that they don't necessarily have to keep him on the team for that long, but having him locked in and happy, I think it's going to create a lot of harmony.
Yeah, and I want to pivot to that because we did title the episode that, and I do think that is the single most important thing, because that was going to be the huge overhang over this team this season. If Tua was not signed, again, regardless of what you think of the contract, and when I posted it up on polls, seems like 2/3 of Dolphin fans are behind it. They think it was a fair deal. 1/3 are not. It's more of a wait and see. Are you going to win in December? Are you going to win in January? Are we finally going to win a playoff game? Okay, first
Yeah.
one since December 30th, 2000. And until that happens, there's going to be that segment of Dolphin fans which has a right to act this way, which is like, show me. Okay. And then when Tua goes around doing the Jerry Maguire thing, the show me the money thing, he is putting a bullseye on his back. I mean, the bullseye was already there with the contract, but to think, okay, and this is to me is the biggest sign of growth from him. But now it needs to be, again, put your, put your mouth where your money is, right, or your money where your
Yeah.
mouth is. Well, you got the money. Is that I can't imagine that guy doing that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like when Brian Flores was here. Like, and we've seen this evolution of Tua as a speaker, as a leader, is salty Tua, all the nicknames that are out there. And he does have sort of a bring it on type mentality, which is more in line with what we see with Jimmy Butler with the Heat than what we've seen with Tua traditionally. Um, but that first 2 interception game, it's going to come back around on him. So I think some of this is really good. Again, stability. They know who the quarterback is. It's clear that the majority of the players, it's not lip service, that they do believe in him. You can see how much they like him and respect him. But that early season is going to be really important. Like that first month, he has to perform at a high level. And even, again, for some, that's not going to be enough because they're going to say, wait till December. But if he gets off to a bad start, all of the talk of stability goes away. And then it's, did they make a mistake?
Yeah, and I don't, and I've been a Tua skeptic, you know that, but I don't think that this deal was a mistake. Because also another part of me is, well, if they turn their backs on this guy, do I trust them to find another guy that they, because Tua is pretty good. I don't know if I trust this organization right now to go out there and find the next Lamar Jackson or the next Patrick Mahomes. So I can completely understand them committing to Tua long term. So I just wonder, the Tua haters, like what do they really have to complain about here? Because I don't think you can really complain about the deal itself. They did
Mhm.
make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. A lot of people thought that they would have to. in order to sign him. They didn't have to. He's making a few less than some other quarterbacks out there, some of which he's probably better than. Giving him this long-term deal actually gives them more cap flexibility. He's only, for example, got a $9 million in change cap hit for this coming season. So it actually gives the Dolphins more flexibility, not less than if he was playing under his current contract. So, I think for the haters out there, I think the only thing that anyone can really complain about is the fact that it's nothing about the terms of the deal, because I think the deal was pretty team friendly and Tua seems happy with it. So it seems like a win-win from that point of view. I think all that anyone can complain about is just the fact that they committed long-term to him. Whether you look at the length of the deal, which goes for another 5 years, or, maybe in 3 years, they could find a way out of it financially. I think just the long-term commitment itself is what makes people upset. But listen, do I think Tua is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL? No. Do I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Probably. Statistics would say he is. So I can understand locking in your franchise guy, locking in the guy for Chris Greer, the guy that he drafted, the guy he's hitched his wagon to. And so, but like you said, your point is not lost on me, that if he goes out there and has a 2-interception game in September or October, or God forbid the Dolphins, either don't make the playoffs or they lose in the wild card round again, the conversation is going to get very loud about the team making a mistake. But for better or for worse, I think if you think it's a mistake, I think it's one that they had to make at this point. I think you had to lock him in long term, because I think things would be worse if you didn't.
I agree with that entirely. If they went into this season with him in the last year of his contract, to me, the season is over. Yeah. And I know people are going to say, well, you don't say that about the Heat with Jimmy Butler, right? But it's different. Even as important as a star is in basketball, okay, and someone of Jimmy's status, it's different in the NFL. If there is uncertainty around your quarterback, your team cannot win. That's the way that I view it. It would be constant questions all the time, and they had to get it done, and they got it done, as you said, for a little bit less than maybe we thought they were going to get it done for. What I take from this is, if Tua is acting this way, okay, which is, again, out of character from who we saw when he was uncomfortable the first couple years with the Dolphins, with his former head coach who did not believe in him, right, didn't even want him drafted. If he's acting this way, he knows, okay, that they got a good shot this year. Like, there's a certain, he wouldn't be acting this way if he didn't like what he saw with the rest of the team. He's been here long enough to know, okay, the talent base that they have or don't have. And I know Dolphin fans still have questions about the offensive line. We've got questions about the pass rush, even with what we've seen from Chop Robinson because of Shaq Barrett, again, retirement, and then, not knowing when you're going to have Chubb and Phillips and when you're going to have them at 100%, if you're going to have either of them at 100% at all. I don't know if you're going to get Chubb at 100% this year. It tends to be the second year after an injury like that you do get the player returning to his prior level. But Tua clearly knows at this stage that he has pieces to win with. What he also must know, because it's obvious, is this is the weakest the division has been since he's been with the Dolphins. Patriots are awful. We talked about this on a previous episode. The Patriots are not good. I don't think anybody really buys into the Jets. Yes, the defense is good, but we saw again, and they didn't have quarterback play last year. But I don't anticipate Rodgers playing at a particularly high level this year or staying healthy. And the Bills have just lost a ton of pieces. And they do have Josh Allen, but they lost a ton of pieces. So what I take from all of this is Tua surveys the situation. He knows he's got Tyreek. Waddle, we've seen, has had a great start to camp already. I do think he believes enough in the offensive line. They've added Jalen Wright to that backfield. The backfield is loaded. That's the best backfield they've had in probably since Ricky Williams was leading it back in 2002, 2003.
Yeah, and so at the very least when Ricky and Ronnie were together. I know Ricky was
together in 2008.
Yeah,
and exactly. And so I think he looks at all this and he says, okay, we've got a defensive coordinator. Because look, the quarterback knows how the other leaders on the team feel. And it was clear that the Jalen Ramseys and even X, who's not there anymore, were not happy with Fangio last year. Like, that became apparent as soon as Fangio left and the floodgates opened in terms of what they really felt. Excuse me. They clearly like this guy Weaver. All right. And they've tailored a defense to him. These guys like the head coach. this is the year, Alex. I keep coming back to it. Like, they've given Tua the tools. They've given him the contract. He's obviously confident in what's going on. The division is not a bloodbath by any means. And so they are set up. And it needs to be a 3-1 start, a 5-2 start, a 7-3 start, something along those lines, and then carry that momentum going forward. I want to ask you a couple things about Tua specifically, though, when we come back. And I do want to mention, as we introduce Jerseys 305 here, we brought Jerseys 305 on here when there was a lot of Panther stuff going on and all that, obviously winning the Stanley Cup. That worked out pretty well. Now he's unveiling a lot of Dolphins jerseys. So if you're interested in vintage Dolphins jerseys, go to jerseys305.com. Again, it's jerseys305.com. He's going to have memorabilia on there and all the rest of that soon. But for right now, check out the jerseys. Again, our friend Jose at jerseys305.com.
Hey, it's Ethan Skolnick for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We've got a great new sponsor that fits with us perfectly. It's called jerseys305.com. That's jerseys305.com. This is your home for dead stock and vintage jerseys from the Heat, Panthers, Dolphins, Marlins, and the other local teams. Their mission was born from a passion for wearing jerseys of the old styles and the past players. Jerseys 305 aims to make every fan stand out from the crowd with unique pieces that you don't commonly see anymore. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, but not today. And Jerseys 305 was created by the fans, for the fans. They're diehards just like you. In fact, they're probably listening to this episode right now. So check them out, Jerseys 305, their partnership with 5 Reasons Sports, celebrating with a 10% discount on the next purchase using the code 5 at checkout. Unlock your exclusive savings on the entire vintage collection.
All right, welcome back to Five Guys here. For you, what is a successful season for Tua?
Win a playoff game at the bare minimum. I would come away, and obviously I want to win the Super Bowl. I'm a Dolphin fan. I wasn't alive the last time they won one of those, but that it's not Super Bowl or bust for me. I believe there are steps you have to take before you're ready to win the big game. And you mentioned earlier, the last time this Miami Dolphins team even won a playoff game was December 30th of 2000. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it was, almost 24 years ago, because memories like that, watching your NFL team win a playoff game. I actually watched the game from Europe, which was ironic, Ethan, because it was not blacked out locally in Italy, and it was blacked out locally in South Florida. I'll never forget watching that game and watching Lamar Smith run absolutely crazy. And so, yeah, I want to see that again. I want to see that again in my lifetime. And so, I draw the line at winning a playoff game. I want to see this team, because you look back at how thin the margins were last year. They didn't win outside of Dallas. They didn't win any big games in the regular season last year, but they were still a meltdown against the Titans away from hosting a playoff game rather than starting on the road in Kansas City. And so if you can take care of your business in the regular season this year, I think this team can put themselves in position to host a playoff game or two. And so that's what I want to see. I draw the line at win me a playoff game. I think it's important, not only for this team to do something they haven't done in 24 years, but for this quarterback that you've just invested in. Go out there and show us you can get it done in the postseason. And if they win in the wild card round or the divisional round and they lose the next game, people will complain. At least I will have seen incremental progress, and I will see Tua do something he has not done yet in a Dolphins uniform.
I'm going to get a little more granular here. Three things I want to see from Tua this year. First thing, he's got to eliminate the what the hell was that mistake. Sometimes he would get away with it, but there would be 1 or 2 per game that you're like, wait, he's too smart for that. That is, the guy reads the game too well. His anticipation is too good for him to do something like that. Okay. And he does not have the athletic ability to overcome that mistake. Whereas Mahomes can do something insane, but he'll make it up for it on the next possession. We know that Tua has the ability, and we talk about it, post interception Tua and his passer rating is through the roof. But I'm talking about just play to play, or even Mahomes can make a huge mistake, but throws the ball with such velocity that it's not picked off, or something else happens along those lines. He's got to eliminate that one mistake. The second thing to me is he has to make something out of nothing on occasion. And I know those two things seem like they're, at odds with each other, because sometimes you make the mistake when you're trying to make something out of nothing. But like, he has to use his legs more often this year. Like we see the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. We've talked about it. Lamar, who has struggled in the playoffs, we discussed that. But Lamar, Mahomes, etc., they can make something out of nothing when the circumstances are not ideal. And I think that is critical. And the third thing plays into the second thing, which is this: he has to elevate guys instead of them elevating him. And I know, again, there's a lot of weird data on this that, again, the national media doesn't follow, which is, for instance, like his passer rating is actually better when Tyreek is not on the field, when he is on the field. And I don't think most people realize that. So he's not a Tyreek merchant, okay, or even a Waddle merchant. They don't even play the two of them together all that much. And this year with Beckham there and having a tight end in Smith that they may use a little bit more often in some of these formations, they may play together even less. But what I'm talking about is, like, again, there is legitimacy to people saying that Tua, again, has been given great talent to work with. I want to see what happens when two of those guys are out.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to see him do what Mahomes has done, what Rodgers did, what Favre did, what Danny did to an extent. Where, okay, when you don't have all of your pieces, what do you accomplish? And that is the separator for me. Now, he has done some things, like he made a so-so offensive line look pretty good at pass protection because of his release and his anticipation. But I'm talking about overall, can he do that? As far as what you're talking about, I'm with you. They have to win a playoff game. I can tell you, if they just win one playoff game, like let's say they win the division, win a playoff game at home, and then go on the road and lose, people aren't going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like what you said about making something out of nothing. I just I hope I'm wrong. I don't really feel like that's who he is. And I know not every Super Bowl winning quarterback has that it factor. Like plenty of quarterbacks have won Super Bowls without being Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think when God made him, he broke the mold. But I would love to see more of that, Ethan. I would. And it's an interesting stat that you bring up about the passer rating being even better when Tyreek Hill is not out there. Obviously, we would all rather Cheetah be out there and take advantage of all that. I think having Jonnu Smith this year adds another element and a safety valve in the passing game. And obviously adding Odell Beckham, I believe, makes this offense better and more dynamic. So he's going to have more opportunities. If obviously using his legs more is a double-edged sword, because for anyone concerned about the concussion history, the more he uses his legs even to extend plays, the more he puts his body and his head at risk. But I think he's more athletic than people give him credit for. I don't know why people put a label on Tua as if he can't move. I think he can. So I would love to see everything that you're saying. And I think that if you're going to see the it factor come into play, that would definitely be something. If we see more of that from Tua, it can help you win a road playoff game if necessary, because I think one of the issues we've seen for the Dolphins in the last, number of years, really last couple of years in the Mike McDaniel era, is we know this team can win a track meet because they have a track team for an offense. But can they win a wrestling meet? Like, can they, when it's a physical sort of brawl, they haven't really shown the ability to adapt to that identity. And I think a lot more of that falls on the offensive line and the running game, who sets the tone up front. But there has to be some of that from Tua as well, under duress, being able to make plays, being able to make plays when you're getting taken down, when a clean pocket isn't there. So I would co-sign on everything you said, that if we get that stuff that you talk about, we'll get what I'm talking about, and that's a playoff winner too.
Yeah, and the scrutiny is going to be there every single week for him. I mean, that's what comes with the money, and most people are not going to break it down and say, well, this cleared cap space for the Dolphins, and this was a smart move, and the way that Brandon Shore and Chris Greer put this thing together. No, they're just going to say he got paid $212 million. Whether or not that's real, not real, the way it plays out, he's the $212 million man now, and he's calling for them to bring it on, essentially. And so, I root for him personally because I like his story, and I like the way he handles himself. And I don't understand why he's become such a polarizing figure nationally, because he hasn't brought that on himself, but he's starting to. And that's more interesting. I think the thing is, look, I was the nice guy, the religious guy, all the rest of this stuff. meekly kind of took all the darts, the slings, the arrows. All right, fine. Now, I mean, bring it on. And I think that will galvanize his team, but it does absolutely put more pressure on him. All right, thanks to Alex. As I said, make sure that you're checking out Pulse of Fins Nation tonight, 7:30, Inside Leverage. Tomorrow, 7:30. We're gonna have a ton of Dolphins content. Also, all Dolphins podcasts. Make sure you check that out. That's with Alan Poupard hosting, and we also have our friends over at 3 Yards Per Carry, CK, Simon, and Alfredo twice a week on 3 Yards Per Carry, as well as OnlyFins. Have a good one, everyone.